5.
Yeah, that was a good bunch of questions, so I've called in for another 5, so here we go.
Well,
again.
the sun's out.
Yeah, it's nice, and keeps me out of work and sit in the sun and talk fishing. Who wouldn't want to do this? So, what is one piece of your gear you would not go without?
One piece of my gear I would not go without.
Something different, not rods
Yeah,
and
no,
reels
to
and
be
the
honest,
obvious ones.
I always go on how important sharpened hooks are, and people tend to test the sharpness of the hooks by pricking it into the finger, which I think doesn't test anything. All you're testing is that the very point is sharp. I absolutely love the little eyeglasses, you know, the little eyepieces, what Jules. Your eyes tell you much more than the sensitivity of your point. So when you look through an eyepiece at a hook point, whether it's sharpened or not sharpened, it's incredible. Unsharpened hooks almost look like one of the pyramids, whereas a sharpened hook looks like the shard. And the problem is, if you use sharpened hooks, it's so easy to turn the point over, and when you prick your finger and don't look at it properly, the very tip of a sharpened hook can just turn over slightly, so you still feel the prick of the hook, but you don't know it's turned over. So for me, that I will not cast a sharpened hook out without looking at it through an eyeglass. That is the most important thing.
I like that. That was a great tip. I always like to stroke the hook points and all, because they have gone up.
You can feel it. Yeah.
You?
I also like to take Vaseline for my hook points.
For the hook points.
Maybe we should move on.
I think we should. Next question. How do you approach fishing highly pressured waters differently from the quieter venues?
Highly pressured. Well, again, as I said in one of the earlier questions, the thing with pressurized waters is you can watch what everybody else is doing. And if everybody else is doing a certain way and catching them, you jump on it. And if everybody else is doing it a certain way and is catching nothing, then you try a different approach. I know that a lot of anglers say be different. Now that's all right if what everybody's using isn't working. Being different is good, but being different for the sake of being different doesn't work. You know, if everybody's catching a bright yellow pop-ups and you're chucking out a potato, that's being different. So with pressurized waters, what I do is I spend so much time watching what other people are doing. I mean, there's the obvious things as well, you know, fishing in the margins, sitting well back. Pressurized anglers make a lot of noise, you know, anglers make a lot of noise, and they just don't seem to realize that noise, carp don't like all that unless they're searching for food. So just look up other people's mistakes when you're adapting your fishing. So in the margin, slack line. If everybody's sticking out loads of bait, why not just fish a single bait? Or why not take certainly bait that's been in soak for a day or two, because some carp on waters definitely will not pick up, or not pick up with as much gusto, bright baits that have just been, that they know that if they wait a day or two till it starts breaking down, it's safe. So taking safe with baits is one of the things I would do in pressurized water.
Yeah, brilliant answer again. Next question. What's the best advice you would give to someone who is just starting carp fishing nowadays?
Don't tell your wife how much money you are going to spend on carp fishing. Somebody who's this is one of the easiest ones, is you learn about carp fishing not through watching YouTube, not through going into fishing tackle shops, not through talking to people at conferences, but by catching carp. There is nothing better than learning on the job. So if you're an electrician or if you're a plumber, they don't give you the biggest job in the world to start with. They show you how to change fuses, how to change a tap, and you keep doing that until that's the obvious thing. So go and find yourself a water which is full of carp between 7 and 20 pounds, and the more you catch, the easier it is, because you think, do you know what, if I use that sharpened hook I caught 3 rather than 2. If I actually got that cast spot on, I caught 5 rather than 2. You won't learn a lot about carp fishing if all you do is catch 1 20-pounder every 3rd session. So find a water full of carp that is fishing all year round.
Yeah, brilliant advice again, and I like this next question. We'll find it again. Yeah. Are there any common myths in carp fishing you think need busting?
Well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of bait boats and they say it's cheating. It's only cheating if it's not allowed. So that's one of the myths, because in effect when you're using a bushwhacker, in effect it's a bait boat on a stick. If it's allowed, it's allowed. Anything that, when people say it's cheating, what they mean is it's not their kind of fishing. Another common myth in fishing is you have to, you know, sharper ducks don't make a difference. And I've seen people who I respect really greatly as anglers, and they say, oh no, sharper ducks don't make any difference, it's just a fallacy. Then that's absolute rubbish. So in effect you are saying hooks don't have to be sharp. That is an absolute fallacy. The sharper the hook, the more that hook is likely to find a purchase. Another myth, that certain baits will catch all the time. Carp are funny things, and as much as I might like to use a yellow pop-up, there are times when white seems to outperform pink, which is then outperformed by match the hatch. So that's another myth. Another myth is that, oh, they don't feed in this weather. If you only went fishing when it was perfect conditions, you'd end up never going at all. And for me, the number of times I've gone and thought, this is cock on, I am definitely going to catch, and nothing's happened, is balanced out by the amount of times that I thought it's just not going to happen today, and the old R4 screams off. So the myth is that they only feed in these conditions. What it means is they tend to get caught more in those conditions with a certain amount of anglers. So that's definitely a myth as well. And again, the myth that the more money you spend, the more you catch. The important thing, you know, for me, it's not about your bivvy, it's not about your brolly, it's not about your rods and reels, it's that last metre, the metre around your hook. You know, that myth is that, you know, you've got to spend on brollies is not true. And I think the final thing that I see people say is, it'll do. It'll do is the biggest myth in carp fishing. Either it's right or it's wrong. Either it's spot on that cast or it's not. So anybody who says to you, it'll do, mate, you know, they swim round, they're eating machines. That's another one. They're eating machines. They just swim round eating. Well, that is not true at all. As I said in one of the first questions, oxygen, warmth and food are the main things. They are not just eating machines that trough round. That's a very naive myth. So those are the biggest myths.
There's quite a few myths around carp fishing, and
yeah,
one more question.
Yeah, no problem.
And you've been at this for about 40 years of carp?
I've fished since 1976. I've exclusively fished for carp since 86, so almost 40 years.
Yeah. How do you maintain the enthusiasm to keep going in all weathers as well?
I think it's because I've always balanced it. I've always loved motorbikes, I've always loved my music, I've always loved reading, I've always liked going to the gym, I've had a full-time job, and I've realised that everybody who just has one single pursuit tends to burn out. You'll get, I don't know, we'll talk about people who ride bikes. I've seen so many people who are elite level bikes, and they say, I've had enough, I don't ever want to see a bike again. People who go to the gym say, I never want to touch a weight again. And I've seen people who get in the trade go, I don't want to be talking about fishing all week and then being asked to go. And then people who've caught really, really big carp. And you see people who are totally motivated about personal best. Nothing wrong with that. But I know a lot of people who say, I just can't be motivated anymore to go fishing because it doesn't tick my box. I need something to motivate me. What's kept me going is that we haven't got a final date on our going underground. And you know, when you say, oh God, it's crap this fishing, if you woke up tomorrow with cancer, you would not think sat wet fishing was a bad day out. So my enthusiasm for that is that if you enjoy life, you enjoy fishing, don't make fishing the sole focus of your life. It's probably cost me a lot of carp over the years, but I tell you what, I've had some great fun. You know, I've lived my dreams, and my dreams haven't just been catching one personal best. Because when I die, nobody's going to ever at my funeral say, oh, he was a great angler, he was a great angler. I would hope they say you were a nice bloke and that. When you die, you die, and you don't want to just be remembered, didn't he have the fat lady, or didn't he have two-tone? So yeah, the more you have different interests, the more that it hurts not to go fishing, the more enthused you are about it. So if you can go whenever you want, you tend to sicken yourself, and it either becomes a job or it becomes monotonous. So I suppose what's kept me going is that I've never been able to fish enough, and fish have always got the upper hand on me. So I'm always thinking, no matter how sharp my hook is, no matter how much of the water I've got, I never think that I've got it sussed, because they make a fool of me. So that's what kept me going, is that carp are always, and I never want to destroy the myth of carp fishing. That's why I don't want to see loads of underwater film which show what they do. I still want to go, oh my God, the buzzer's gone. And that's what's kept me going 40 years.
Thanks, Jules.
Thanks
for
you.
these questions, especially that last one, because I was sat there nodding.
Yeah.
To pretty much every one of that.
Cheers,
So,
mate.
Thanks again.
Thanks to everybody at Independent Tackle and Bait, and I will bring you biscuits in on Friday.